Hey folks, Andy here. So the Pixel range is always an interesting range that I like to keep an eye on. Obviously it's Google's phone, and since the Pixel 3 kind of offset in between the 3 and the 4, they bring out the A version of the device. So the 3A came out, the 4A, the 5A, 5G or something like that. And this year, of course, then the Pixel 6A has just come out. I can't remember how successful the 3A was, but I'm almost certain the 4A was a massive hit with people. It comes in at a sort of a cheaper price point, but still generally with very good hardware. It's a device that, although I've not had one predominantly as my main device, my mum's on a 4A, I think, and my brother's maybe on a 5. I think, I don't know, it's fun. The family definitely use them, and this is in fact going to be my brother's 6A, but he's let me borrow it for a week to unbox and to review. So let's get on with the unboxing. So one of the first things we notice about the box is how thin it is. It's not particularly a new thing that chargers won't be included. I think it's the right thing to do, but maybe I don't know. Maybe it's because I do have a lot of chargers. I have a lot of devices. I don't think I really ever take the chargers out of their box. Maybe it's because I sort of recycle my devices quite often. I prefer to leave everything in the box and just take the phone out so I can just put the phone back in and it's kind of as good as new. So there is the 6A. I do have my 6 next to it. Because one of the comments is I want a smaller device. That's one of the reasons that people are sort of going for the 6A. So you can see the usual sort of, well, I say usual package. It's usual but without the charging brick. And there it is. Let's just pop it next to my 6. I mean, there's not a huge amount of difference. The bar is actually that's probably the more noticeable thing, is a lot thinner and doesn't protrude as much. But let's put the 6 aside again. Let's start it booting up. There we go, felt the vibration. So it's more of a plastic device, but I'd say it feels reasonably good in the hand. We've got the power and the volume rocker on the same side. Google often have power, so power is above and volume is below. A lot of people have it the other way around, but I think when you get used to it, it's okay, it's fine. The SIM ejection on the side there. USB Type-C, obviously. There's a noise cancelling mic at the very top. Cameras on the back we'll come to in a second. Welcome to your Pixel. So just to talk briefly about the hardware. So it is a slightly smaller device, 6.1 inches of screen, 8.9 millimeters thick, and only 178 grams in weight. So it's a little bit lighter than a lot of other sort of big devices these days. It comes in charcoal, chalk, and sage. It has the Google Tensor chipset, 5 nanometer. It's quite big because I think that's the thing that's bouncing. It's giving a little vibration, a little pulse. It's quite weird. Holding, what's it doing? It's just the thing bouncing. So Google Tensor chipset, octa-core CPU, Mali G78 MP20 GPU, 120 gig of storage, and only 6 gig of RAM. I think 6. I mean, I know people. I'd never go less than 8 gig. Really, you really need 8 gig of RAM in a phone? I think 6 gig is fine. It does have the UFS 3.1 file system, and it is IP67 rated, I think. The screen itself, I've mentioned, is 6.1 inches. It's OLED HDR. It's about an 83 screen to body ratio, so there's slightly bigger bezels than you might find on another device, but I mean, negligible difference. It's 2400 by 1080, a 20 by 9 ratio, that is, and it's about 429 pixels per inch, which, again, that's pretty good actually. There's some bigger devices would have lower because they have the same ratio, the same amount of pixels, but on a bigger device. So that's quite a good density actually. It's protected by Corning Gorilla Glass 3, which is a few generations old now, but at the same time, I think it's probably going to be fine. And the screen will be the interesting thing because MKBHD did not like the screen. 60 Hertz, I'm okay. I don't think, I don't know if my eyes are a bit old or what, but I don't really notice the difference so much between 6090 and 120 like some people apparently do. So we'll see. But I mean, he was saying not all 60 hertz screens are equal, and this is a particularly bad one, is what he was saying. So we'll see how we get on. To the cameras, they are 12 megapixel, both of them pretty much, basically. The main one being f1.7, which is actually quite good. That's quite an open aperture that would let in quite a lot of light. Regular wide angle dual pixel phase detection autofocus with optical image stabilization. And then there's an ultra wide 12 megapixel f2.2. The front facing camera is 8 megapixel f2.0. The battery is a LiPo non-removable 4410 milliamp hour. It does have fast charging at 18 watts, although it doesn't have wireless charging, which some people kind of like, really, I can't believe it. I mean, it's a £399 phone. In fact, I did gather some info from GSM Marino. I filtered it down for any devices less than €450. There were high 200s, I think, if not 500s. And I said, right, I only want ones that have Qi charging. This is since 2021, and it came down to like 25 of them. I think it's acceptable for a £399 phone not to have wireless charging. It does use Power Delivery 3.0 and Android 12. So what I will do at this point is get the device set up, get it logged in, a couple of things installed. I might nip outside, take a couple of photos. We'll run a benchmark, but basically we'll be back in probably about an hour actually when I've logged things in and let it. I think might be an update for it to run as well, and then we'll just have a quick first look. Okay, so I'm logged in. I've installed a few bits and pieces. There wasn't an update. It seems to be up to date, although the security patch is from April 5th, so I feel like it might change its mind at some point, but I hit the check for updates. It said, no, you're good. Oh, really? With a 3-month-old security patch, if coming on to 4 months old. Anyway, so a few bits and pieces installed. You can see it's a little bit jittery there, as in processor-wise, not screen-wise. So I don't know. Maybe, yeah. I think for the main review, well, maybe I even just do a comparison of my Pixel 6 and the 6a, and I'll try doing 240 frames per second slow-mo video of them scrolling, see if I can see the difference. To me, it's not particularly a problem. I don't know, is that a bit blurry? Is that blurrier than I would imagine? I don't know. There you go. Anyway. Interestingly, I searched Geekbench 5 on the Play Store and it didn't show up, so I guess it's not applicable. It's not applicable. That's not the word. Compatible with the 6A. So I downloaded the APK file and ran it. It's called 2410, which isn't bad, I think, for a budget device. I mean, the 4A. So I don't think I played with the 5A. The 4A scored 1510. So it's literally 900 points more. I don't know what 900 points equates to necessarily, but I mean, my Pixel 6 was 2,680, so 2,410 that indicates to me that's not a bad score, that's not bad performance. You should be okay with that. The fingerprint sensor, so I don't think, and maybe I've not turned always on display on, I suppose. So you have to tap, but then it seems reasonable. I have had problems with in-screen fingerprint sensors not being that reliable. So far, it seems okay on the 6A. I think I've just got an issue with my thumb, in that maybe it's not, I don't know, it's too smooth. I don't know, how do they work? But if I feel like, because a lot of the time this thumb is better, this one not so good. At the same time, getting into like apps that use it, it seems a lot more reliable than the OS. I don't know what that is. So let's have a bit of a look at the screen and the speakers. I think the screen looks really nice. It was really good. I don't think there's any issues there. The camera, I did have a play with the camera. It's funny, I've just changed it now to be in full screen. Obviously you get the settings here. Well, I say full screen, yes, so it's actually a crop. Technically, you should always just use the 4:3 because when you go to that full screen, all it really does is take that photo but crop off those edges. But I don't know, I just prefer the aesthetics, get the framing right, because I prefer the kind of almost the wide angle type view. I don't know what that means really, but anyway. So took a few different photos, tried the regular lens and then the wide angle lens. Tried one of some flowers, that was fine. Tried one indoors, so kind of low light. It's not dark by any means, but it's indoors. It looked okay, looked really good. Tried the front-facing camera, looked okay. Tried a bit of video. I thought the image stabilization was odd. So you could tell there was image stabilization. It just seemed a little unstable, does that make sense? Unpredictable almost. It was there, but it just seemed a little, we'll see. Again, I feel like there might be an update that comes through. And it was just, I think it was like 1 or 2 bits of video I did. So obviously, if you haven't subscribed already, please do. I'm going to do a lot more testing and things and samples and maybe some comparisons, maybe to the Nothing phone. Well, I'll see how much time I've got, if I'm very honest. Some comparisons to the Pixel 6. Again, time dependent. I've got a full-time job, you know. But we'll see. Subscribe if you haven't to make sure you see all of those. Early indications, it seems very good for $399. I didn't mention about the cameras actually, so it's relatively talked about that they're old sensors. What was used in the Pixel 3, 4 and 5 or 2, 3, 4 and 5 earlier Pixels. But people point out, but this is still, it's a very good sensor. It's a very good sensor. And when you throw in Google's computational elements to it, it's still going to produce really good results. So a lot of people are already saying that if you're after a budget to mid-range device with a good camera, 6A is probably your choice. Obviously, I'm going to take a lot of photos in the next week or so, and I'll be able to give my opinion on that later on in the week, or the next weekend maybe, I don't know, we'll see. So let me know if you have any specific questions, post them down below. I do read all the comments. But for now, my name's Andy, and I'll catch you all again soon.